Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh. Welcome to another amazing episode of Success Not the Less. We have Miss Shaniece Jones on the show today. I mean, her work is absolutely phenomenal. You guys watch The Forge, you guys watch Cribs, inspirational mood boards of your closets and homes of the lifestyle rich and famous. You got to get Shaniece Jones up there with the rich and famous as well, but closet organizing, I mean, DIY ideas to help you take your closet, your space to the next level. Most importantly, your peace of mind and having that peace and clarity in order to move your life to the next level. So without further ado, please welcome Miss Shaniece Jones. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's an honor. I do not take it lightly that you reached out to me of all the people that you could have connected with. So I really just want to say thank you for seeing me and recognizing my work.
Yes, awesome. So let's get into it. I know people, sometimes I'm sure people can feel intimidated by all your success. Of course, she's been featured in Architectural Digest, guys. I mean, that's a huge deal. Not only to put your mind to do that, but to actually make it happen. So I got to take my hats off to you because a lot of people don't make it. So I think you are a prime example of, putting God first, truly using your character, your integrity, and just having a passion for what you do. So that's truly inspirational. We'll definitely get to that, but I had to throw that out to the folks as well. Tell them to put some respect in your name, right? So let's get started. Give people a little bit about your background, where you started, when you had this vision, and then kind of where you are now.
Okay, so I'm just a little black girl from Bridgeport, Connecticut. People normally hear Connecticut and you're like, oh, you got money. I will say that I had the best of both worlds. Like I can't say that I grew up poor or what may have you, but like my mom lived in the ghetto and my dad lived in like the nice area. So like I got an opportunity to see what was possible on both sides. And I've always dreamed of like getting out of Connecticut. I mean, all we got is UConn and New York City is close enough, but growing up in my childhood, I was always the kid, like when I would get in trouble or get put on punishment, it kind of wasn't punishment for me, because I would be in the house organizing or moving my room around like, well, you think I'm on punishment, but I'm actually having fun in my head. That's what I was thinking, So it was, I never told my parents that until I got older. But yeah, like I never knew that I had like, it was a gift. It was considered a gift because I was like the girl that was like, I can't sing, I can't dance, I don't have this thing, And then as I got older, like, and started actually working in this field, that I was like, this actually is a gift, like being organized, being able to help people, like, have a peace of mind. Because my mom worked 2 jobs, like from what I know, like during the holidays, so that we can get what we really were asking for on our Christmas list. And whenever she would come home, I would like run her bath water or find ways to like help her relax because I knew that she was, working a lot. Or I would try to cook dinner, and even though it wasn't always great, she would be like, oh, this rice is too hard, or this is that. Like for me, it was kind of like, I'm trying to take something off my mom's plate. And it's just my character, who I was growing up. And it was something she would always tell people, like, my daughter would give the shirt off her back. And I never thought anything of that. I was just like, oh, she's just being a mom, like, being this person. But as I got older and was able to see, like, this is just a part of like who I am, like just wanting to do for people, wanting to remove the burden from people's lives. And somehow or another, it all worked together. Like I did not go to school for this. Growing up, I thought I wanted to be a model. That was like my dream thing to become. I started watching America's Top Model. I wanted to like get on there. I tried out.
You look tall. Are you tall?
I am. I'm 5'11", and I do wear my 4-inch heels. So I end up, I'm a tower when I put heels on. But yeah, so like everything kind of like, I've always loved fashion. I always wanted to do fashion. My background, I'm West Indian, so I'm Jamaican and Cape Verdean. My dad's from the South. But, my parents, you go to school, you become doctor, yeah, y'all know the drill. Like whenever you hear West Indian or African like family, you always like hear like, you go to school, become a doctor, a lawyer, like the areas that make money. And so growing up, I was like, I want to do fashion. Even when I wanted to go to a fashion high school, my mom was like, you're too smart for that. Like you need to go to school and make sure that you get a job and all the things that come, with having a good job. And inside, it never left me. When I was in college at St. John's University in Queens, like I would have like chem tests. I studied pre-med. I was a pre-med student, biology major. And like, I would always be like, every test, I was like, if I fail, I'm just going to go to FIT, like, and I'm not going to tell my parents. And I never, I didn't fail out of college, but I finished with my pre-med degree, and ended up after college, I worked for a hedge fund. And so while I was at the hedge fund, there's always pivotal people in your life, right? So at the hedge fund, it was me and another Black girl. We were the only Black girls at the hedge fund, working in Greenwich, Connecticut. And it was a really cool environment. So it wasn't like, oh, we're the only Black girls, like it's a bad thing. But she was like, what do you want to do? You always dressing so fashionable. And I was like, I really love fashion. Like, I really wish there was something I can do. I didn't know that styling was an actual career. And she mentioned this school called the School of Style. At the time, she was like, why don't you try out this school? Like, I found it. They're going to be in New York, take the courses. I started applying to FIT, like their image consultant certificate program. I tried out for Miss Connecticut. So I was trying to do all the things to fulfill the elements of fashion while I was doing my main job at the hedge fund, working at the hedge fund in investor relations. And there was just like this spark in me. So like while I was taking these courses, like, because people want to know how you got into your career, right? So while I was taking these courses, I was studying to also like do like the Series 7. I was going to do that because I was already in finance. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to focus on doing this fashion. So I would use all my vacation time for like, backstage New York Fashion Week, all these things, like wherever I can like implement time, I would call out sick using my sick time because we had a good amount of sick time. And all my sick time, even when I was sick, I would come to work. But when I wasn't really sick, I would be in Fashion Week or somewhere like utilizing, like trying to build like my background and like, my resume for the fashion industry. And I got this opportunity. There was this lady, her name was Shaniece M. I call her like my big sister now. Like she's pretty much family. She's a big Atlanta stylist in Atlanta. And she used to do like all the celebrities in Atlanta, pretty much like all the rappers. So like Gucci Mane, like everybody. And I'm behind my desk at the hedge fund. And I was like, you know what? My friend was like, why don't you just email her? I was like, you think so? So I emailed her. I was like, look, I will do whatever. I'm not in your city. I'm in Connecticut, but I will do whatever, like research, whatever it is that you need done. Like on the computer, I can do it because I was going to do it from my desk. I don't recommend that, guys. I don't recommend that I don't recommend you guys do that. But she actually like she told me to call her, and I will call her. She's like, oh, I'm out shopping. Call me tomorrow. And I kept on calling. And she finally was like, all right, look, you're persistent. Like, I like you. I'm gonna get you a shirt that says Miss Persistence. Like, I'm gonna give you like a job to do, and then we'll see from there, like where we can go from there. So I started interning for this lady, like long story short. And at the same time, I was still taking the course at, the School of Style that came to the city. And once you're in this program, you get on this email list. And the email list will send you like internships, like whether it's one a day, like internships, or 2 days for commercials or what may have you. And I actually got an internship. Like, I left work early to go like interview for this intern. And it happened to be for Kanye West's, team. And that's kind of like how everything kind of like started working together. And I remember telling Sean one day, I was like, and you have to be careful what you say, right? Like, your tongue is power. And I was like, man, I wish I could just get laid off and come work for you full time. And I promise you not. Literally less than 2 hours, I had come and sat at my desk, got ready to do everything. And they were like, hey, Shaniece, we are having a meeting in the boardroom. Can you come in? And I was like, sure, thinking nothing of it because it's regular, right? And they were like, we're downsizing, like, your department, and we're going to let you go. And I was like, okay. But they were like, don't worry, we're going to give you a nice severance package, all the things. And I was like, okay. And I don't know if they expected me to be sad. It was my first layoff ever in life. And so I called Shun and I'm like, Shun, I just got laid off. She was like, shut up, Shaniece. I said, no, I just got laid off. So she's like, all right, go cry. Call me back in 10 minutes and we'll figure it out. I didn't cry. I just packed my stuff up, said bye to everybody, and like gave Atlanta. So that everything like pretty much started. It all started just like from my childhood, being put on punishment, organizing, doing things in the house, getting in trouble for throwing stuff that I had no business throwing out because I thought that it was not good or not being used. Am I still there? I don't know if
it's kind of like, okay. Yeah, okay, it was going out in a second. Okay.
But yeah, so it started from like the childhood, having this like inner dream of wanting to work in fashion, whether it was modeling or what. I didn't know that there were so many careers in fashion that were possible. to going to school for something completely different, to become an optometrist, and then actually switching gears into finance, and then from finance back into like my actual desire of fashion. So here I am.
But that's gotta be hard. I mean, because most people who get laid off, I mean, you got bills to pay, you're depressed. A lot of people, they don't have a plan. Like, what made you like be optimistic when you could have been like a pessimist in that moment?
You know, I don't even know, because there's other areas where, like, I'm gonna be real, like I'm not somebody who's like, I'm always positive. I'm the hardest critic on myself. But in those moments, like I always, for me, it was kind of like, well, I can actually go and pursue like the dream that I wanted to pursue, which was in the fashion industry. This woman already seen my work because I used all my vacation time to work for her, or she would like fly to me to Miami for like the cover of Essence photo shoots or whatever it was. And I'm like, I already started building my resume while I was working like my main thing pretty much. And so for me, I was like, I know I can always get a job. I was a retail manager. Like at the same time of me working at the hedge fund, I still had a part-time job in retail because I would use that to, afford my clothes like for the hedge fund. And so in my mind, it was just always like, I know for me, like people always joke like you got to be Jamaican because you have more than one.
Right.
It's true.
Got like 9 jobs.
Like it's true. So like I always found ways, like, because I'm like, either way, you got to go get it. There's something in me that just knew, like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh my God, like, what am I gonna do now and cry? Like, I can sit there and cry, and then what? Like, my parents, they never handed me anything. So like, I always had to work for things that I wanted. So for me, it was just kind of like an opportunity to show, like, I can do this. Like, I know they said this industry is hard, and the minute that you give me a challenge, I'm like, I'm gonna show you that it's possible. So you gotta just have that drive. Like, you just gotta know, like, like, it's anything is possible. Don't sit there and be like, oh, I'm sad and like this can't happen for me. It's like every opportunity, anything that ever happens in life, there's an opportunity to do something better. It's on the other side of that like idea that it's impossible.
So I have to ask you, I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought the interior decorator does everything and kind of bring people along. So what is the difference between, interior decorator and then you are actually a master closet organizer / fashion / all these other amazing things. So what is the difference?
So like pretty much an interior designer, like they definitely work with all areas of your home. So like your living room, your bedroom, all those things. Like they have, I mean, the same kind of similar to fashion. We put together mood boards to kind of give you the vision and like the feel and the vibes and the themes and all that good stuff. But they focus more on the house. So for me, like when you hear about organizers or people think about the home edit, like they're organizing all parts of your house. But I specifically niched down and really went into the closet because one, I found it very personal. Two, it's connected for my, my passion of the fashion industry because of my background. Like when it's coming down to like editing and all that stuff, like editing things out your closet, my expertise will help me like, okay, this is able to be consigned. This is trash. This isn't going to make money. So like the same way that I'm trying to see how I can correlate it. But like pretty much I focus on closets and like designing the closet, taking inventory of the space to make sure that it's functional in that space. An interior designer and interior decorator will focus on like the entire house, like the entire, like every room in your house.
Okay. So what do you have to say to people out there who say, I don't know if I can afford Shaniece. I have a small closet. I don't have 5,000 square foot of closet space or anything crazy. Like, do you actually do people like you have clients with smaller budgets or?
So for me, I don't budge on my price because I know the value that I'm bringing. It doesn't matter how small your closet is, whether it's a reach-in or a walk-in closet. For me, like I kind of tie in my, like how they say in the Bible, like, all things work together for the good of those, who love the Lord, etc. But we take that part, all things work together for our good, right? Like that's the part we focus on. So like all of my background, like even my pre-med background, I bring that into my business. So like people are like, oh my gosh, you're too expensive. But I'm like, well, once I take them through like the downward spiral, I'm like, okay, if you keep your closet like this, what can possibly happen? The moment, so I bring in the science part. I go, the moment that you walk into this like closet and it's in chaos and you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't have time, I can't do this. And then you're all stressed out. Like you're immediately triggering to your brain. And a lot of people don't know this because, you know, they just think, oh, you're just organizing the space. No, I'm connecting it because you look at when you're walking into a space and you see chaos, your brain automatically goes, chaos, chaos releases cortisol, which also in turn then releases like which is the stress hormone. Like then you're stressed out. And sometimes people don't realize that they're stressed. They think that they're fine, or that they think they can just keep shoving things in a closet and push it away and putting it off. But over time, it's like, okay, well, this is expensive now. Do you rather pay this now and get yourself and your life together, or do you rather spend money on on things for them in medical, like as far as like medicines and high blood pressure, and pay for it that way? Because I watched my mom's life deteriorate from being stressed and having high blood pressure, and then watching her go through a stroke and then eventually pass away. So like for me, I'm like, there are things, and I love my mother, so mom don't even try to come from me, but like she was a hoarder. She collected things for one day's win eye. So when she passed away, it took my sister and I 2 years to actually go downstairs when my sister was ready to go through all her boxes. And literally I found stuff from when I was a kid, when she was like, one day when I move to Texas, one day when I buy this house, one day when I do this. And then inside her Bible was a list of all the things she wanted to do for one day when she made X amount of dollars, or like traveling and all these things. And I'm like, we box up these one day win eyes and we attach like, oh, this is too expensive. But then in the closets that are small, I'm seeing Louboutins, I'm seeing designer bags, I'm seeing, and then they're like on the floors. And I'm like, and you say I'm too expensive, I can take 3 of these bags right now and you can pay my fee and have a better life and still make money, because people don't even know that when you're disorganized or when you're cluttered or your space is cluttered, it is a scientific known like study, like a research study. I think it was Harvard or I don't want to be quoted, but I believe it's Harvard that did a study on this, and they said people that are disorganized actually make dumber decisions. And you don't have, like, whether that's in money, whether that's in your business, and most people are entrepreneurs that I work with, like you don't have time for that. Like you're losing money by saying, oh, Shaniece, you're too expensive. I've seen people find ways to pay for my fee so that way they can get their life together, and then eventually go on to like, oh my gosh, I can think so much clearer, I'm more creative, I can find these things, I'm saving less time. And those are the things that come with it. So it's more than just organizing your closet.
So I gotta ask you, I'm all about selling, but most important, closing. So when you're in the process of closing, potential clients, whether celebrities or not, and they say, I gotta talk to my spouse, how do you get over that kind of I wouldn't say rejection, but that stall? Like, how do you get over the stalls?
Well, first, I mean, I like to make jokes and have fun. So I don't like serious. And I'm like, sometimes, well, did you ask your spouse when you bought that bag? Or, that kind of thing. Did you consult him on that? But if that's a problem, I'm like, well, bring him into the conversation. Like, call him up now. Like, let's talk to him now. Like, I'll talk to him with you and explain what we're doing here and what's the benefit. And believe it or not, a lot of my clients are men versus women.
I would have never thought that.
Yes, men actually want to be organized. It makes it, if you think about it, men normally, I mean, nowadays women are the breadwinners or what may have you, but men are normally busy in their career. So they don't have time to like look for things or what may have you. So all it takes is one person to be like, yo, like I had Shaniece, like she my closet girl, come in and da 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 da, and they're like, yo, I need her in my closet. So it's like kind of like a ripple effect where they're like, oh my gosh, like this person. And guys have egos. You got a closet, you got somebody organizing your closet. Right. What? Like, it's kind of like like you on another level kind of situation.
Yeah, so, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You bring
what were some of okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, if that's the whole point of like, I got to talk to my spouse, I'm like, we'll either make a joke or I'm like, bring them into the conversation, and it's not that hard, to tell them what we're doing and the benefit of it. So
I think you went to business school / selling school / all this stuff in once. So what were some of the impossible requests that you made possible?
Oh my gosh. Well, it wasn't even in the closet, like in my business. It was actually when I was doing wardrobe styling. And there was a bag that one of our clients in Atlanta wanted, and it was sold out of all the Chanel stores in the US, right? And like I said, you give me a challenge, I'm the type of person where it's like, I will stay up until the next day trying to figure out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I remember like there was, so I actually was able to like to call different stores. I called London, actually found one in London. And I was like, dang, how am I going to get this bag like in the time that we need it? Next step was, who do I know? Who is it that I know that lives out in London that can get this bag for me? And I remembered that an ex-boyfriend had an uncle that lived in London. I swear. And I'm like, listen, like I don't burn bridges with nobody. I don't care.
Clearly, right?
I called him. I was like, please, can you ask your uncle? Like, we will get the money. Like, I'll pay for the bag, like, over online. But can he please get it and ship it like overnight, like FedEx? We'll pay for everything, got FedEx number. And it worked out. And the client was happy. They didn't know all the trouble that we had I had to go through to get the bag. But I made my boss, who was the stylist at the time, Shun, she looked like, yo, I can do anything. Like, and it was a request that she put on my lap. And for me, I was like, it's my responsibility to make this happen. I watched The Devil Wears Prada maybe once too many times. And I just believe that you don't take no for an answer. You figure it out. There's a way for everything.
Wow. That's, yeah. I mean, I'm just at a point where if if it's not meant to be, I'm just like, I'm just not. I've done that before, but for myself. But I'm just like, maybe it's not meant for me to get it. So let me just move on. So
I will hunt it down.
Oh man. So at what point in your business, when you first started out, who was your target market? And then what point in your business you say, you know what, I need to seek celebrities and people of influence?
Man, figuring out your target market is never easy. I'll tell you that much, because it kind of just so happened to be like word of mouth, like how everything kind of happened. And for me, I was just like, I want people who are, one, overly stressed. Like, I want to make sure that I'm adding value to their lives. And I think that starting with the closet, because it's where you start and end your day, I think that's like the most important like area. Like, those people who understand, like, I'm stressed out, I'm burnt out, I need to figure out another way. I tried all these other options, but not knowing that their space is affecting them. So for me, it was like targeting those people, not only those people that have money, because believe it or not, we find money for the things that we see value in. Like, so my audience are people that actually see the value in what I do. And I never just went after celebrities first. I never was like, oh my gosh, I want these celebrities to be my clients. Now, I will say celebrities do help, like, with your brand, in essence of like, people trust celebrities, or for some reason, without knowing them, which is weird, but amen. But they like they're like, oh my gosh, you work with this person. So it's almost a validation. But I never started out thinking that I wanted only celebrities. For me, it was always like, who can I help? Who can I actually serve and like remove burdens from them and make their life that much easier? I don't care if it's just like a small part of their life, but I want to make sure that it's memorable and impactful. So I went after those people, and I'm like, people will find the money. And yeah, there's you have when you're writing down your avatar, as people say, like in the business world, like, or your customer, it's like, people who make this amount of money between this amount of money. But that doesn't mean that I close the door on people who don't, and figure out a way of how we can work together. Whether it's, okay, I'll break it up in installments for you. Like, I'll figure out a way. But if I know that that you need it and that you want it and that you understand the value in it and how it's going to help your life, then we'll figure it out together.
How do you stand on your price?
How?
Yes.
Because I know I finally learned.
Because people are scared, some people, people, especially like you said, you gotta think about, if you let's say you were, you didn't have the closing skills you didn't have that persistence or ambition, or you're just, regular person, maybe has some family issues and trying to build up your self-esteem, and they don't know how to stand firm on their price. So what do you have to say to those people?
I will say that I was them. I would say that I was them at one point. People looked at me as if I always had it all together. And I sometimes try to share like the true side of my story, like on Instagram, if I write a long post, it's because I'm sharing my heart. But I struggled with self-esteem, and I struggled with my self-confidence, and I never thought like I was good enough, and I never thought I was pretty enough. I just knew that I knew how to work, and I knew that like I would put my heart into whatever that I'm a part of or attached to. And I started seeking therapy young. Like I dealt with anxiety. A lot of people don't understand that. Like I would never wish anxiety or panic attacks on my worst enemy. A lot of that came from like my childhood that I didn't know what it was, which led me into therapy. I lost my older sister. I've been through a lot of trauma and loss in life. And, like going through that and like going through low self-esteem and then getting in heartbreaks and all these things led me to therapy. And I will say that therapy is what really helped me. Outside of like, I have a business coach, she's a really powerful woman on like online business or what may have you, who would say, even right now, she thinks my prices are low, like, which is probably going to raise next year. But like, I have to build myself to feel confident enough to give the price that she's actually telling me to charge, for, my services. But I say that to say like people go to therapy. Therapy helps. I don't do regular therapy like to work through what is making me not confident or believe that I'm worth it. When other people are out there charging way more or doing way more in other industries or what may have you. But therapy helped me to realize my worth, and work through the things like in the kinks that I didn't feel confident in. I didn't have the self-confidence, but now I do. And then I started doing hypnotherapy, and a lot of people think hypnotherapy is like when they're just waving the thing, you're getting sleepy. It's not even that. Like hypnotherapy has literally changed my life in so many ways, to the point of when I had bad anxiety and panic attacks after my sister suddenly passed, I couldn't drive. I couldn't drive like on the highway when I lived in Atlanta, without going from one exit to the next without having a panic attack. And hypnotherapy helped me get back to driving. Hypnotherapy helped me to realize like I am worthy. I am all these things. Like it really reprograms your subconscious mind, which is where a lot of like the thinking and things like, we don't really focus on, but it allows you to be in a more relaxed state that allows you to focus on like maybe one thing at a time to kind of reprogram it. So I would say like if you're in that space, then go to therapy, seek a therapist, hypnotherapist. Don't listen to, oh, you don't need that and you can pray. No, prayer and therapy is a weapon. And that is a quotable, I believe, from Dr. Anita. So
I like that one, because some
yes.
people, I think we got to do the work ourselves. We can't put it all on God and hope for the moon and stars and not put that work in, or at least take
Mhm.
those first steps. So I'm glad you spoke about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, how did it feel to be featured in the prominent Architectural Digest? Um, how does that happen? Like, was this 2 years in the making? Like, I need to hear details. Like,
No, it was kind of like suddenly. So like I had it on my vision board in the beginning of this year. I started working with my business coach, and like you always hear the, write the vision, make it plain. And I would hear that, and I would be like, oh, vision boards probably don't really work, all this stuff, you just put pretty pictures. And I never put, it's like, so you would make the vision board and put like the pretty pictures, right? And I would just put it and do it because I was at a vision boarding party with friends or whatever. And it was this year that I said, no, this year I'm actually going to actually put the energy and the feeling and the emotion behind what I really want to see happen in my life this year, what I really want to accomplish this year. And Architectural Digest was plastered all over, literally like little elements all over my vision board. And it's still on there for the sake that there are other things that I want to happen or be featured with Architectural Digest that I'm like hoping for. And, I put it out there, and I was like at the beginning of the year. And then I happened to come across like this article I had read, and I seen this the journalist for it, and I was just like, hey, I'm a closet organizer, master closet organizer. If you're ever working on a story, like, I would love to contribute my expertise. I've done this for XYZ, letting them know the people that I've worked with, etc. And it just so happened, like when I sent it, I was like, probably not gonna, see this email. Like, who knows? She probably gets a ton of these. I kid you not, I went to bed, and before I went to bed, I was like, God, if this is meant to happen, I believe that you will let it happen. If this is what you have for me, like in my journey and on my path, then it will happen. I'm just going to give it over to you. Literally, that next morning, when I got up after I said my morning prayer and meditated, I went to check my email, and it was like reply, RE, like what I had put as a subject line. And I said, okay, she's either going to tell me, oh, sorry, not at this time. She's like, I'm actually working on a story. Can you turn this around in 24 hours? Like, can we connect? And I said, absolutely. I will find time to connect with you. And then that's just how everything just. So.
wow. That is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
usually you gotta put a year because these journalists, like you said, they get a million of those things. So
Yes.
you talking about God on your side and knocking on these doors. Oh my
I think
goodness.
because this year I really had to put faith into action. So last year, like I had this, my business was kind of like, I'm gonna be very transparent. It was kind of like a business that was on the side outside of me because I was working in ministry and working for a company, and I had gotten laid off like for the third time. And like during that time, I was still building my business. And I said, you know what, God, I really have to trust you. And it's the first time that I ever, and people like, I go to church, I pray, but I never really, really, really believed for things good to happen for me. Like I believed in God, I believed in his power, I believed in miracles, all those things, but I didn't think that things could happen for me. And so this year was a year that I was like, you know what, God, it's on you. I'm really trusting you, and I need you to show me your hand. And I don't know if it was the boldness. I don't know if it was just like that little belief that actually kicked in, but it it was all him. I can't even take credit. I can't take credit for half the things that are happening in my life, to be honest.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Talk about, and speaking of that, how did you know that this was your purpose?
I didn't. I did not know this was my purpose. And
Okay.
it's so funny because I always say like people throw around this word purpose like they started throwing around love, and it's become so watered down. Like the idea of purpose, the idea of love, etc. But for me, it was just kind of like, how can I be used to serve somebody else? At heart, I'm a servant. I have a servant's heart. So like, what can I do that's going to help someone else's life be better? Like I always had this idea. I'm like, you think about Martin Luther King, you think about Malcolm X, you think about Rosa Parks, all these people that you hear about in the history books. And I'm like, I may never reach that level where they're talking about me in the history books, but I want to reach a level where I impact one or two lives where people will be like, yo, Shaniece really helped change my life in some shape or form, however it was going to be. And when I was doing wardrobe styling, I actually was like, running on set, schlepping clothes from place to place. And it was just that one opportunity when I was just kind of like, I want to organize their closet. And I got the opportunity to organize someone's closet. And when I was in there, it gave me an opportunity to learn more about them. And so I connected a lot with the closet. And I was like, man, like I can understand somebody's life story, what they're going through at the moment. If they're struggling with weight loss, if they're, like struggling with a breakup, or like literally just by being in their closet and in that intimate space with them. And I love connecting with people. I love being a bridge, like really like getting to know someone on a level beyond what they do, but really understanding like things that they're dealing with, or being that ear, or being that like confident for people. And I found that in that space. And I think I found my purpose in working. Like, so I would say along the journey working, it's not like you wake up and you're like, some people know my purpose is to go sing. My purpose is to be a doctor. I'm put here to do X, Y, Z. I didn't know. I felt purposeless. I felt like my life didn't have meaning. And I found meaning in the closet, like by connecting with other people and communicating with them and just being an ear or inspiring them in some shape, form, or way. So I
Wow.
would say you can find your purpose in just working, put in the work.
So I'm sure I want to go back to your story of, you working at the hedge fund in Greenwich. So I know what it's like to be the only black girl, these $1 billion meetings. This is the first time I've had braids in my hairs in 16 years. I feel like I earned that right now because I
Yeah.
couldn't have them.
Yes.
So I felt like, did that like build tough skin in you, knowing that, as a black woman, you got to be like super duper on point at all times? Like, do you feel like that could have contributed to your persistence? Especially, you're competing in a world market. So not just even Atlanta, LA, like people in China, Australia. And I think people don't realize that when they're sending things out, or when they're putting things in the universe or communicating with the people. So did that play an effect as far as how you operate and move?
I won't say that it did, because growing up, I mean, my mom, she will always tell us like, you got to work that much harder, etc. As a black woman, like you don't want a man to have to take care of you. So like I had that in my upbringing because she was a single mother. In essence, although I do know my dad and love my daddy, but she was a single mom raising 3 girls. And I had the best of both worlds because my family is really like multiracial, like especially on my dad's side. So like I've always had, they're married to like Portuguese women and just like women from, different backgrounds. And I've always loved culture. So for me, my mom used to tell me I was so naive. Like, you're so naive. Like, you always just think everybody's your friend and everybody. And she would literally tell me that all the time. But for me, I just see people as people. And so working at the hedge fund, I was able to connect with people. For some reason, I think that's a gift too that God placed inside of me, like that I'm able to connect with just different people. And I never was like, man, like I'm like one of the only Black girls here. It was just kind of like I kind of use it as my power, like that I had the swag and that I had the connections and that I was like cool, like with pretty much everybody, like in the hedge fund. Even the owner of the company, when he hired me, he had interviewed me. He was the last interview. He goes, I was just going to hire you based off your resume, but I just wanted to meet you. Cool guy, cool Jewish guy, like New Balances, plaid shirt, button down, with his foot on the desk in the interview, just chilling. And I said, this is my type of place. Like, I like it here. It wasn't like that stuffy. Like I didn't get exposed to that stuffiness. Everybody was like cool. When we had investors come in, that's when everybody was on their, we was on our game. But other than that, it felt like family, to be honest. It felt like because I was exposed to that, and I went to a multicultural high school where there were the Jamaicans, the Portuguese, the Brazilians, like, everybody had their crew, but everybody still all came together. So I didn't get that American, I would say, like, upbringing where it's kind of like the Black over here. And it wasn't like that for me. I always like mingled with everyone. And my mom was like, you got friends from like all over. My birthday parties would be like, you would thought, I don't even know, the world, what they call it, the UN or whatever, where everybody comes
United Nations.
Yeah,
I forgot the GP. I forgot the thing they get together.
Yeah, I can't even think of the name, but that's what I thought was at my birthday party. Like friends that they would teach me like Indian languages and Portuguese and French. Like I just love culture, and I think that allowed me to like be in these different spaces and not feel less than.
Okay. So do you have any advice for upcoming entrepreneurs who want to be in the same field as yourself that may be having a hard time and can't quit their job and things aren't falling into place like your story kind of?
Oh my, the advice that I would give them, what would I give my younger self, my younger entrepreneurial self? Don't give up. And that sounds so regular, but I will say this to say, I kept putting it down for other people's dreams. I kept saying like I devalued what my gift was and what I was doing. Like, oh, I'm just organizing. I can go work for this company. I'm just organizing. I can go help my friend build her business. I'm just organizing. I can go until I found the value in what I'm doing. So like, don't give up. Find the value in what you're doing and literally put your heart behind it. Like, go for it. Even when this is getting tough. For me, things happen to align because I just kept trying different things. People always say, you got to focus on one thing. I didn't focus on one thing. I can't say that was my story. I was all over the place that I'm now able to, from finance to my science background, like I'm actually using like the courses that I took for neuroscience and neurobiology, like actually in my business, like to image consulting, to all these things, and all of it now I put into my business. So don't think that you got to just like focus on one thing. Yes, when in your business focus, I get it. It helps make you, it helps you give you like a straight line, straight and narrow of where you're going, but like try different things, like be able to like shift and be able to switch things if something's not working. So just be open and don't give up.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So what were some of your lessons learned, if there was a mistake and it turned out to be a blessing? Because I know people sometimes are scared to make mistakes. And, I do believe sometimes you don't get second chances, but sometimes you really don't. So, how did some of like your lessons learned help you today?
Wow, that's heavy. Mistakes that I've made, and I've made quite a few mistakes. One mistake that I've learned would be charging lower, for what I'm serving. And I was to say that it was a mistake where it turned out to be a blessing because one of those jobs was probably one of the most rewarding jobs that I've done. It was working on this farm. It sounds crazy. I was working on the farm, like organizing the farm. It was like a wonderful entrepreneur couple, and they were living on a farm off the grid pretty much. And I quoted less because I was like, oh, they're not going to pay this if I actually put this price down here. And they actually turned out of all my clients, and I love all my clients, celebrity, non-celebrity, but they actually turned out to be the most rewarding because they took in the lessons of what I was teaching them about the clutter, and they started doing other areas of their home without like having to ask me, or would ask me like, what do you think about this? Like I would leave and come back, and like she organized her like laundry room. Shaniece, what do you think about this? Like, I'm really ready to start just getting stuff that's no longer serving me. And the fact that they were able to take in the value of what it was meant so much more to me than the money. But I also learned to raise my prices because I was on that farm for almost 3 weeks. And that I did not get paid for 3 weeks worth of money. So I would say, like, it's the reward is greater than the finances. But in essence, it turned out for me to realize, okay, I really have to, like, I'm really providing value. It was the moment that I seen that what I do provides value to someone's life.
Okay. So how did you handle or tackle adversity, when you could have complained?
You don't have time to complain. Oh, geez. Nobody has time for complaints. Nobody wants to hear them. No, sir. But I will say, I think because I've dealt with a lot of trauma growing up, in essence, when I say trauma, I say like my brother was murdered my freshman year of high school. My sophomore year of high school, like I had lost, my friends died. Like I just seen life be taken from me, like not from me, well, kind of from me, but like from people. So like in short periods of time, where they didn't like fully get to live. And so for me, it's like, instead of sitting there complaining, every day is a gift. Every moment that you wake up and you have breath in your body, I know you hear it all the time, but every day literally is a gift. So it's like you can complain, or you can look at your life and say, what am I not doing that this other person is doing, that they're so successful, and like all of a sudden, like I desire their life, etc. And also what can I do so that way I can actually, either obtain the life that I desire and actually make every moment count, because you never know when your last moment is going to be. And just watching like my mom's life be cut short because of stress, watching my sister die suddenly, not knowing that she was ill, watching my brother get murdered over some foolishness, like, to me, I just realized life is so short and you have to make every moment count. So why sit there and complain? You just got to get on with it. And I know that sounds crazy, but I deal with it in therapy. Like I go to therapy, and these things that bother me, like I work through it. I just don't shuffle it under the rug and like move on with life. But I realize that like every day's a gift and you got to keep moving.
Wow, you're such a beautiful person. I would have never thought all that stuff happened to you just from listening. As you can hear, I'm very present. So thank you for sharing. You didn't have to share that, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Last 2 questions. So can you explain the value? You got everybody watching YouTube. They probably thinking I'm better than Shaniece. I can do it myself. I can save thousands. Really talk about, the importance of hiring a professional like yourself versus thinking, folks who just run off in the sunset and create these masterpieces that you create on a daily basis.
Well, I would say go for it. Go ahead, try it yourself.
Okay.
Let me know how it goes, because no, but in all honesty, like, to be real, like I think that hiring a professional like myself, I come in with the expertise of not people try to do things by themselves, like, whether it's through an edit or getting things out of their closet, but then there's so much emotional attachment to certain things that you end up like not getting rid of what you should be getting rid of. You end up back in the same cycle. You either get frustrated and end up not wanting to do it, or you pull most people start this, they pull everything out their closet and they go, now what? For me, I have an eye, which allows me to see like, okay, this is how, after just through conversation or communication, like understanding their lifestyle, or, just them telling me like the day-to-day things that they do, I then create the space so that way it flows and functions with their day-to-day. And they don't even recognize it because we're on autopilot all the time. that we always go to the same things all the time. It's literally like you get up, you get dressed, you brush your teeth, all the things that you do naturally because it's subconscious. You already know what you have to do. Whereas I create that space so that way when you come into the space, it's the same thing. It becomes like your subconscious and it makes life flow easier. When you're doing your laundry and putting your laundry away after I'm out the space, you know everything has a place. I know this goes here, I know this goes there, but when they try to do it themselves, they don't even know where to start. They don't know what they're getting rid of. There's like a whole process that I take people through of like, who are you trying to become? What season of your life are you in? What are you making room for? What are we making room for? Like if you're single and you want another relationship, well, there's no room in this closet for his stuff. Like I try to help them create the space of where they're trying to go in their life. And I have like a little funny thing that I put on my Instagram when it's like, okay, I can do it myself. And I show them what happens when my clients have done it themselves and they call me because it's a disaster still. They get frustrated at a certain point and just toss everything back in the closet like, man, I don't have time for this.
Right.
Exactly. I knew you'll call me. Even people who like, I don't have the money, like I'll try again. I'm like, no problem. Literally a year, 6 months, 2 months, I get a call back. And I'm just always like, okay, no worry. I knew you would call.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right. Oh man, but that's gotta be tough, especially my thing is especially like people that hoard or either have a hard time getting rid of old stuff. Like, aren't you like scared to like, I would say hurt people's feeling, like especially if somebody like passed. Like I know personally, like my grandfather passed, and he was like I didn't have my father, so he was like my father figure. So I know for me, instantly, like I have like a couple of pieces that I'm not going to get rid of. But if people have more than that, like how do you help them navigate
letting
that
go.
part? Yeah.
Well, like I said, I like to have fun. Like my uncle, there's a little nickname that he calls me like Goofy because I'm always like finding like the humor in something just to make the situation a little bit lighter. Like that's just how my whole family is actually. But when I'm in this space, especially if like someone's dealing with grief, I actually had a client recently, like she lost her mom and her sister during the pandemic back to back. And she was like, I just want to get organized. And as we were going through the closet, there are things she's like, well, my sister gave me this, or my mom, and I'm like, well, are you going to either wear this? Are you going to use this? Like, did they value it? Like, finding out if the person that passed, like, did they actually value this item, or was it just an item in their house? And you're like, it's the last thing that I have, to hang on to them. Like, it's important to like ask those questions of like how connected they are to the piece. I don't make them get rid of everything, but if there's like, a lot of things that you're not going to use, think about who it can help. Like, like who can you give it to? Maybe somebody in the family. Maybe instead of just like, oh, I'm just going to donate it somewhere, find the organization that will be able to utilize it so that like your family's like heirlooms are being used somewhere that people are going to respect it, honor it the way that you would have. So like I just ask like certain questions to make sure that we're not throwing out something, one, that's valuable or worth money, because sometimes those things from family can be that, and two, if it has like some kind of connection personally to you. And if not, like take a picture of it. And then when you're ready to give it away, like at least you still have the photo and it, whatever, because people don't understand that it's not the item like that like provokes the emotion or the feeling or the remembrance. Sometimes you can literally take a picture of something, look at that picture, because your mind doesn't know the difference. Like your body, you'll still be able to evoke the same experience, you'll be able to smell the same scents, whatever it is, it'll like just bring back that memory. So I just like walk people through a series of questions when we're going through that process.
Okay. So let's talk about, upcoming events. I know you got the Shaniece Jones SJ. I was like, S is for speaking into existence and the J is for just do it.
Like Nike. Like
right. So, what I know people are anxious, what upcoming projects can you share? What's your vision? You've been moving in at flash lightning speed, like the comics. So, what's your vision, over the next year to 3 years? What's next for you?
Pretty much I am working on a diffuser line, a product line, pretty much to, connect to my business. Also, I just want, for me, when I think about like my company, I call it like one woman army, like going to war with clutter, to help people like, get a peace of mind. It's pretty much for me, it's like the peace of mind that everybody wants. And it's not necessarily like the tool is the closet. The tool that I use is like organization, but really in essence, like my hope and dream is to people to really tap into, their peace themselves and the inner peace, like within their environment, and like not have to be in these spaces that require you to like lose that. Like I want people to be peaceful and know how to tap into that peace even when the world is in a state of chaos, like what we just went through, a whole full-on pandemic, like meditation, whatever it is. So I'm working on a few programs with one of my coaches to kind of put out there for people who really can't afford me, but I do want to be able to give them a piece of the peace, if that makes any sense. So I have a few things in the wraps, and also possibly relaunching. I had a podcast called In the Souls Of, which was like very inspirational, just giving people an opportunity to hear other people's story, to get inspired by it. Because I feel like with storytelling, which I see in the closets, like what I do in these spaces, you can always inspire someone, like whether it is they want to do what you do, and they can take the baton from where you left off and go even further, like from learning from whatever steps or missteps that you had in your life. So I'm thinking and in the process of possibly relaunching that. So there are some things that I'm working on. But yeah, I just want to be a servant to as many people as I can while I have my time here on earth. And that is pretty much giving them the peace of mind that my mom would always say, like, I just want peace of mind. I just want peace of mind. And I pray that she has that now, like, now that she has passed. But those were the things that she would always say, I want peace of mind. And the other advice that she used to give me was to like live your life. And I think when you have these spaces where it's free of clutter, it's organized, you're peaceful, all these things, then you actually have an opportunity to be present and live your life. So that is what I hope to give back to the world.
Wow. Yeah, so definitely, I mean, I gotta close on that, because I know I can't, and I'm glad you brought up the scientific piece, because I never knew like why I can't concentrate if things are messy. And I thought it was just me, I'm a Gemini too, so like I think the half of things like, the cuckoo side. But I didn't know it was like a scientific. So thanks for explaining that, because I'm like, I can't concentrate. I'm already, cuckoo enough.
Yeah, no.
It's not just me.
Yeah, you can just take a look at your space. Like even it can be like the slightest thing out of order. And like sometimes people like, I wake up and I'm just like, why is my day off? Literally, like you walk in your closet, if that thing is not right, you're already triggering like just for your brain to be like chaos. The day is gonna be chaos immediately.
Right.
So,
right.
Yes, yeah. It ain't just your Gemini.
Oh man! So can you tell the world what they can find and connect with you at?
You guys can connect with me on Instagram at Shaniece M Jones. I have a few videos on YouTube if you want to like, see things, and it's the same name, Shaniece M Jones, Shaniece Jones on YouTube. If you want to like get started on your closet, and if you get stuck, holla at your girl.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Shaniece. I see nothing but great things. Yeah, definitely let us know. You get your podcast up and rolling, so we can get people the information. I see nothing but great things with you. And thank you for your time. It's the one thing we can never get back, and I just truly appreciate it. So
I appreciate you. You on my podcast now.
Oh. Thank you. All right. See you later. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.